Welcome to our Research in Europe series. Today we will talk about research in Switzerland, and we have two very special guests with us. In this series, we aim to focus on research landscape of European countries, the opportunities for researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. This series is the continuation of our virtual coffee chat with the Science Diplomat series, but in a different format. These events bring together various science attaches, diplomats, diaspora members, and researchers to share their insights, experience, enthusiasm, and the latest information regarding science, technology, and innovation landscape, and research and career opportunities with us. In our previous event, we hosted Sweden, which is ranked among the top innovative countries. And my name is Derya Büyüktanır Karacan. I am the regional coordinator of EURAXESS North America. Along with my colleague, Jackson Howard, I am also working as a professorial lecturer and researcher at George Washington University, the Elliott School of International Affairs in Washington, D.C. As most of you may know, EURAXESS is a European initiative backed by the European Commission, the EU member states, and associated countries, consisting of free services, portals, and tools dedicated to researchers working and living outside of Europe who wish to connect with fellow professionals and organizations or engage in research and innovation collaboration and opportunities. And today we are hosting Switzerland, another country on the top ranks of the innovation indexes. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you. And before we start, I think it's really good to hear about your background. So I'm going to read your short bios. Olivia Gachoud heads the Science and Technology Office at the Embassy of Switzerland to the United States since 2022. She has worked in public diplomacy and international relations for several years, holding different positions with the federal government, nonprofit, and private sector. From 2019 to 2022, she worked for President Switzerland, Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, where she started focusing on Switzerland's promotion abroad and science diplomacy. She was in charge of developing and implementing communication activities to showcase the Swiss innovation landscape and to promote international collaboration with the Americas regional continent. Olivia holds a bachelor degree in socio-political studies and a master degree in business communication, with a dual degree from the Pontificia Universidad Católica. And Gaetano Manzo completed his PhD in computer science at the University of Bern in 2020, with a primary focus on leveraging deep learning to enhance vehicular communication. Subsequently, he embarked on a transformative postdoctoral research at Hasso in Switzerland, spanning from 2020 to 2022. During this period, his research was dedicated to shaping the clinical trajectories of breast and colon cancer patients, collaborating with diverse European and international hospitals. In 2022, he took on a new role as a postdoc at the National Institute of Health, stationed at the National Library of Medicine. In this capacity, he immerses himself in the analysis of clinical notes with the goal of detecting attitudes and exploring the social determinants of care. His overarching mission is to seamlessly integrate artificial intelligence and medicines, contributing to the enhancement of the healthcare quality. So, Olivia and Gaetano, welcome again. And it's a great pleasure to have you here. So let's start our conversation. And the first question goes to Olivia. So could you share a bit about yourself and your career with us? before we start talking about Switzerland and what kind of research and career opportunities you offer. And of course, I would be very happy to hear how did your career path lead you to current position, Olivia?
Thank you, Derya, and very, very happy to be here today. So you know what I like about science diplomacy is that people come from many different paths of education and career. Some of my counterparts here in Washington, D.C., they have um, PhDs or they are doctors in chemistry, for example, or quantum physics. In my case, I come more from political studies and then communications. So this is what I studied in Fribourg, which is on the western part of Switzerland, French-speaking part. And after holding my master in communications, I joined an organization called Africa CEO Forum, which was kind of a little bit like the World Economic Forum, so a big platform really to connect the decision makers and then the economy. And there, more than 60 African countries would join to have discussions, you know, about the future of the economy, about sustainability, about innovation. And my job, organizing from Switzerland, was to try to have more countries participate and companies, and then oversee the whole program of the event. One year it happened in Abidjan, in Côte d'Ivoire and Ivory Coast, and the year after in Kigali, in Rwanda. And the program included, for example, such sessions such as family business, women in innovation, or Africa Tech, for example. So there already I was getting more familiar with the innovation ecosystem. This was so interesting because I could witness really what could happen when so many countries come together. This was already kind of sort of diplomacy, of science diplomacy, with all these countries speaking to one another. After this, I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Switzerland in a unit called Present Switzerland. And Present Switzerland is responsible for the promotion of Switzerland abroad, the image of Switzerland. And there I would be responsible for dedicated campaigns, for example, innovation campaigns, some exhibitions such as Clean Tech, for example, so presenting our innovative solutions for climate innovation, or organizing Switzerland's participation at international fairs such as the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which will happen actually now in a few weeks in January. So this is just like a marketing agency, but for the whole of Switzerland, if you want. And what I really geek about is entrepreneurial policies, how to foster entrepreneurship, for example, on campus, because Switzerland, you know, we are a country of innovation, but the number of students who launch their startup right after university is pretty low in comparison with other countries. So from a communication point of view, how can we encourage them to create a startup, to take that leap of faith? And then maybe just some final words. So my whole career so far, early career, has been about amplifying messages about Switzerland. We are very fortunate, Switzerland, that people know us, but often they know us, you know, for the cheese and the chocolate and the army knives. And so for a country to partner with another country, they have to have a really accurate image of the other country. So this is what I'm doing right now: strategic communications and more scientific communications.
Perfect. It seems that we are going to hear more about, I mean, beyond what we know, because I also know your chocolates, your really beautiful winter vacation places and everything. But as researchers, I think it would be really nice to hear about the recent, especially in research and innovation, what you have been doing. You are very successful as a country and your researchers. So in the coming minutes, I think we are going to hear a lot about these topics. So Gaetano, and I think now it is time to hear from you, because you're a civil scientist working in the US and working for a US research agency, a very good one. So can you tell about your experience and insights in bridging these two countries, the US and also Switzerland. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Dari. I should say that probably if I have done my studies and my research in Switzerland, would be hard for me to be here in the US. So the people, the scientists that I met and that I collaborate still in Switzerland, they were the one bridging the two nations, let's say. I joined University of Bern in 2016. My PhD was not at all in AI. It was more in vehicular communication, especially autonomous vehicles, so self-driving vehicles. And I was lucky to be part of the University of Applied Sciences, Western Switzerland. And this is, let's say, the English translation. The French version will be HESSO, which stands for Haute École Spécialisée Southwest. And in a city southwest of Switzerland, they had some autonomous buses. And I was lucky to apply my thesis on those autonomous buses. So I was able to develop and see my results. And this is really rare. And Swiss, even if it's a small country, it has so much to offer. And this was my experience. And during my PhD, I understood that the approaches that I was using were limited because were analytical approaches, and those require a lot of hypotheses, a lot of assumption, which sometimes those assumptions can be skipped with AI. And again, the fact that I was introduced to AI was because of the Swiss multicultural environment. I was in a lab that face in a corridor full of other researchers, full of other students from different generations, different background. And now during a coffee break, a colleague which was working completely a different topic, he suggested an approach that I can use for my research. And this again was what boosted me to start my AI career in 2017 then. And after that, I finished my PhD during 2021. I already had some connection in starting a postdoc, and I wanted to really to contribute to society from the health perspective. So I started my first postdoc in Switzerland, working on breast and colon cancer data. And what I was trying to do, I was trying to predict the probability that the cancer relapse, so reappear after the treatment. And noticing that, I noticed that cancer patients are really particular type of patient because there is a mental health dimension that it's not comprehensively explored. In general, mental health is such a fascinating topic and need to be addressed from different dimensions. And for cancer patients, this is really more enhanced. And by talking to other colleagues still in Switzerland, someone had an opportunity and a connection here in the US. And it was thanks to this colleague and after a few interviews with my current supervisor that I managed to come here in the US. And I joined NIH, so the National Institute of Health, in September 2022 last year. And since then, I have conducted my research here, but still collaborating with the brilliant people of the brilliant researcher that I met in Switzerland. And it's nice because I feel that the two research environment, they have complementary features. And it's even more fascinating because in the moment that you put these two together, the sum is much more than the sum of the single unit. One is a bit more practical, but with a different pace. This is Switzerland. And one is more, let's say, with a faster pace, but also try to increase the collaboration among the company and the organization. We are experiencing a really hot time for AI, and this becomes even more interesting when we merge AI and medicine. So yeah, I will be happy to discuss more.
Okay, thank you, Gaetano. I think what I have heard was really fascinating because what you're doing is a real example of how these two countries collaborated and also different disciplines or different research areas, but still you're open to work on different things. But at the same time, you can switch your research area to be more effective in your research with another country. So it's a great example, and especially the topic that you're working, AI, is very right now recently one of the most important research areas. So I think it would be great to hear more about what you have been researching on this topic. So let's delve deeper into some facts and figures about Switzerland, because I'm really looking forward to hearing about the STI and research landscape. So Olivia, Switzerland is often seen as a unique player in research and innovation. And when I look at the innovation indexes, it's one of the top countries. And can you shed light on what sets your country apart from the other European countries, especially regarding higher education and research? And could you provide some key facts and figures for us?
Okay, perfect. So Switzerland, we usually lead innovation rankings. For example, in 2022, we arrived top at the global innovation ranking in front of the United States. I'm sorry, and also in front of Sweden. And I would like now to take a moment to share you some of the key secrets for this success recipe, because Switzerland is a country of 8.8 million inhabitants. So how do we manage to consistently lead innovation rankings? So Switzerland, we know, for lack of natural resources and lack of, for example, access to oceans, we decided strategically to invest in innovation, technologies, and education. For example, Switzerland is one of the countries that invest the most in fundamental research. We invest 3.2% of our GDP in research and development. This is very high in comparison to the international average. It's also something that we have in common with the United States. The US is also a country that invests heavily in research and development. But in Switzerland, because we're such a, let's say, a small country in population and close geography, we can allow to have a very bottom-up approach when it comes to innovation. One example is our national center of competence in research, and this is really like a call for application to all innovation centers and universities. It is funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation, and they will give funding to a certain region, for example, that has a specific area of expertise. And then they will give them funding for 10 years. So it's a high investment. So for example, we have one in quantum, one for biotech and medtech, but it's really the regions that decide to create this hub of innovation, and then the government follows. So this is an example, for example, in research and development. Another secret recipe is probably the close link between academia and industry, because again, they operate in close geography. So most of the companies, they can have a direct access to the universities through, for example, innovation parks or through student association that they will sponsor. So they sponsor the projects of students, and then they can test the innovation with the students. So they really have a direct access to the laboratories. And then one other secret ingredient, and it's really the main case behind, the Swiss-made quality standard, is apprenticeship. because we invest in youth, and we invest in a highly skilled workforce. And a lot of companies actually come to Switzerland because we have this highly qualified workforce, because we have really high standards in higher education, but also for other factors. You know, you mentioned the difference with, for example, European countries. Well, Switzerland is at the center of Europe and very well connected, for example, with the railway transport, also the quality of life. So components like that, it really attracts foreign investors to come to Switzerland, like Google, like PwC, and they also invest in research and development. Then maybe also another factor is that Switzerland is very connected internationally. We host some international organizations such as the IOC, so the Olympic Committee, but also some UN agencies. And we are very open for talent circulation, for brain circulation. You asked me about some key facts and figures. So, for example, 70% of PhDs in Switzerland are from outside Switzerland, and 50% of our professors come also from outside. And this is something that don't bother us at all. We love this exchange of knowledge and talent and ideas. I think I'll stop here for now, but I can provide more facts and figures as we go further in the conversation.
Okay, great to hear these excellent facts about Switzerland, Olivia. Thank you so much. So Gaetano, I think we can turn back to you again. And, you know, because Olivia talked about the research landscape of Switzerland. So can you tell us about the universities of applied sciences in Switzerland and their role in connecting research with users?
Yeah, thank you for this question. It gives me the opportunity to really shed lights on one of the most brilliant university, in my opinion. For the simple reason that this university has two main qualities. The first one, as I think follow up from what Olivia just said, is full of international people from different countries, people from different background, people from different specialization. And in my opinion, diversity increases creativity. And this was also true for me. As I mentioned before, I am now thanks to those people that was such a wonderful communication and a collaboration to have. University of Applied Science is extremely brilliant also because it's a practical university. The main goal of this university is to prepare the students to be ready in an extremely high competitive work environment. Therefore, I was a student when I joined University of Applied Science, but then I became a teacher assistant. So I had also the opportunity to teach. So I was lucky to see the same item from different perspectives. And I noticed that as a student, after a really short time, I already had the knowledge to apply outside the university context. And as a professor, I had the responsibility to provide those knowledge. And practically means that I need to provide the theory, but I also need to provide the practice, and I need to provide projects. One main difference, I have been through many universities from my bachelor, master, to Erasmus, to postdoc. So what I notice here is that every time that I needed to create a project for my student, I try to give them what they could expect from a real scenario, from the really type and quality of data. And because if you ever work with AI, for sure you need to handle data, wherever these data are coming from. And most of the time, those data are really not clean, means that there is a lot of process to do on it. And this is where most of data scientists spend their time. And here it's also the brilliant part, because a scientist can merge his or her theoretical and technical feature with his or her creativity, art feature. And this was enabled by the University of Applied Switzerland. Another things that I noticed is that such university really try to shape in a different way the hierarchy between professor and students. Even, for instance, the shape of our classroom, where like there were not this distance between the professor on the blackboard and the student in front of you, but it was more like a conversation with someone that was more experienced than the student. So a typical lecture will be, I provide the students what they need to study for next week. And then when we meet next week, I challenge them to see the same things, but with a slight modification. And this was exactly what they taught me during my PhD, to really think outside of the box. But before to do so, you need to understand the box. And that's also why I work in AI, because I always refuse to see this as a black box, as a magic tool. It is not magic at all. There is statistic, there is probability, there is math behind that. Everyone willing to learn will be able to learn. So I was extremely lucky to be part of this university. And one limitation of this university, which then transform in actually in a really positive feature, is that those universities alone cannot provide a PhD certificate. They need to go through a process to do so. So the easy things to do, what happened to most of the PhD that joined this university, is to create an affiliation with another university, which can be within Switzerland or outside Switzerland. And this is the magic where a limitation becomes actually something extremely good, because even without knowing, you're already creating a collaboration between two supervisors of two different universities, between you as a PhD individual or postdoc with the whole group of the PhDs and postdoc of the other university. And it's this collaboration that enhances the research. It's this collaboration that create a research that is solid, that is reliable, that is transparent. It's extremely hard to create something so complex and so accurate just as an individual. So all these collaboration are needed, and those collaboration are the foundation of the Swiss university.
Yes, very impressive. I mean, and at the same time, very challenging for the students, right? Researchers, because they have to collaborate. It's not anymore, okay, you can collaborate or not. But so it's, I think, great and kind of unique example, I think, on this area. So thank you so much. And then Olivia, I will come back to your, in general, the more global collaborations, because as far as I know, Switzerland's global collaborations are quite impressive, and I know some of them. And as a civil science counselor in the US, can you give us an overview of your partnerships and collaborations with North America in research and innovation?
Yes, okay. There is so much to say on this topic. I'll try to keep it brief. But as Gaetano said, you know, at the peer-to-peer level, there are so many connections. Just an example, there are so many Swiss professors and scientists who are teaching every day in the United States, and vice versa. And they are really well connected. So this exchange happens, I would say, even if there would be no science consulate or no SwissNex. Switzerland and the US are very strong, share very strong ties. But there are a few topics of expertise where we collaborate closely. One of them is, for example, medicine and health tech and biotech, because also Switzerland is a pharmaceutical hub, especially around the region of Basel. But we have so many scientists who are now in the US on the topic of, for example, neurosciences or medicine, biotech, and medtech. For example, some Swiss startups come every year to the US to discover this market. And the project by SwissNext is that, and I will talk more about SwissNext after. The startup are kind of on a soft launch here in the US to try to enter the market and present their ideas. So one of them, for example, is the startup Biped, who just received funding to expand in the United States. And it's a startup that has a solution for visually impaired people. And their solution works just like a automatic car. So it works with AI. It's like Gaetano mentioned, this is his background. So this is such a fantastic device. It's a small device that you put on the shoulders, and it will just work like just an intelligent car and detect obstacles for visually impaired people. So just an example in health tech, how we collaborate. Another one is climate innovation. In Switzerland, we have a very close to nature approach. So, you know, in, for example, transport, in water, renewable energies or carbon capture, this will really develop some expertise. And now, specifically with this administration, we work very closely, for example, with Department of Energy, with the National Science Foundation, with the NOAA to share also our solutions. One of our startups who has now, let's say, went above the status of startup, Climeworks, received a mandate by the US Department of Energy to build one of the first carbon capture facility in Louisiana. So this is another concrete example. Now I have other things, for example, in quantum information and science technology, there is regularly a Swiss-US symposium where our scientists can come together and talk about the newest research, quantum sensing, quantum information technology. And maybe the last two would be space. So we like to say sometimes Switzerland is a space nation. So what does it mean? Because Switzerland, we are not launching our own rockets, you know, but we contribute with precise instruments or engineering, and we contribute to with research to the success of NASA missions. So in almost every rocket that leaves Cape Canaveral, there is a piece of Swiss innovation in it. For example, Maxon, the Swiss company Maxon, they build rover robots that will go to Mars and collect some samples. And maybe the last field of collaboration is AI. Switzerland, we are now developing a strong center for trust and transparency in AI. And the United States, and well, also Europe, we are all concerned with this question of trust and transparency. So at this level also, there's a lot of ongoing exchange at the moment.
Okay, great. A lot of collaborations and on different topics. It's so impressive because when I look at your population and the size and what you're doing is really impressive, and especially collaborating with the US and with the other developed countries. I think if we had time, we would hear more about the other countries, but in this interview, I think we can just focus on the US. So, but in general, what we can talk about your network, because this scientist network or scientific networks are very important. And as I know, you have SwissNext, and it's very impressive, very different than the this conventional national networks of researchers. So, Olivia, I think it would be great to hear more about the SwissNext and how it is truly remarkable, what makes it different from the other networks.
Mm-hmm. So SwissNext is an initiative that was built by the State Secretary of Education, Research and Innovation in Switzerland, and it's the broad network for Switzerland in education, research and innovation. So they really, or we, I'm also part of SwissNext. We connect. We try to increase the exchange of knowledge, of ideas, of talents with Switzerland and other countries. And the first SwissNext office started in Boston in 2000. So this was really a trailblazing initiative at the time because it was the first scientific consulate everywhere in the world. And this now continues, and they are just in the United States. We have 4 locations: so Boston, Washington D.C., New York, and San Francisco. And then also every scientific consulate within, every scientific counselors within embassies is also part of the SwissNext network. What I love about SwissNext is that they have a very entrepreneurial approach because they rely on public-private partnerships. And so they don't work, let's say, only for the ministry, you know, like a scientific counselor. They work for all innovation actors in Switzerland, the companies, the startups, the scientists, the universities also very much so. And so they can build sometimes like big programs, let's say for startup camps, but they can also organize big symposiums. For example, there is now in climate innovation in Boston, they have this program called Climate Collider. And this is a program to encourage the sharing of knowledge between Swiss startups and American startups in the field of climate innovation. They started in Boston, now they will have a second edition in Austin, because also we realize that innovation is happening everywhere in the US, you know, outside of the, let's say, traditional centers of innovation. So Austin, Colorado, Seattle, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, for example. So we try to have now a bit of a decentralized approach. In San Francisco, they have also a similar program called Metropolis. They're really looking at the future of cities. How can we build in a way that's more resilient and that's in line with our planet's let's say, limits, you know? So transport, energy, sustainable building, for example. So yes, SwissNext is only growing, and there is no really limit of what SwissNext can do. They're really at the forefront of innovation, and if someone is interested in a project, they can just build a program around the interest.
Again, it's very impressive because you're especially located, the SwissNext is located in the innovation hubs. So it's very important that you're all the time updating yourself also with the other information coming from the other countries, so that it's all a kind of information sharing, especially for your country, and more collaboration opportunities on innovational, you know, aspects. I mean, not only in research, but technology as well. So I think the other countries might also take a similar, you know, sample or case like Switzerland, and it might be very interesting. And Gaetano is here. I am also a researcher. We are all talking about research and researchers. So I think it's time to talk about the opportunities for researchers, right? Because I would really love Olivia to ask you how you can give more information about opportunities for researchers and funding opportunities as well. Researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs. And we are not talking about researchers here because some of them will be an entrepreneur or innovator. So I think it would be great to talk about what kind of opportunities you have in the US and Canada. So how they can get involved in these initiatives that you're supporting as Switzerland.
So something that I didn't mention is that in Switzerland, at the higher education level, we have different kind of universities or higher education institutions. For example, 2 of them are Polytechnical Institute in Zurich and in Lausanne. And then we have 20 cantonal universities where they focus more on fundamental research. And then 10 University of Applied Sciences, which Gaetano described with a very practical approach. So first of all, I encourage all students in the United States and in Canada to engage in exchanges abroad and come discover this ecosystem. It can be with a full semester abroad. It can be also, you know, a summer school. So it's a bit shorter. Or let's say, for example, we have a program, a scholarship called Think Swiss. And Think Swiss is designed for Canadian and US students to do research in Switzerland. But it has a very practical approach because they work in laboratories directly with professors. So it's not like they're sitting in a class and getting the knowledge. It's really hands-on work and for 2 to 3 months. So this is an example. Now for more, let's say, PhD and postdoc level and fellows, I would encourage you to look at the website research.swiss, because there are all the opportunities for really more fundamental research, the natural sciences, but also social sciences. And the Swiss National Foundation works very closely, for example, with NIH, but also with the National Science Foundation in the United States to facilitate the funding of common programs. For example, there's a lead agreement between our two agencies. So they put money in this common pot, and now it's much easier for US scientists and Swiss scientists to work together. And then if you, let's say, simply want to go and work in Switzerland, this is also possible. We have so many international companies, you know, like Google, like for example, right now there is the Boston AI Dynamics. They decided to be established in Zurich. So companies like that in Switzerland, depending on your field of research, you can find one, and they're very open to hiring, yes, international researchers. So maybe that would be the three levels, you know, bachelor and then PhD and then more for working opportunities.
Yes. So you offer different, research and funding opportunities to the different levels of students and researchers, and of course, different areas. But then, thank you, Olivia. And then I think we have been talking about this AI, especially within this last year, just 1 year, a lot. And I will have another question to Gaetano because his research is on this topic. So I think it would be really great, Gaetano, to hear about you because you're deeply involved in research. Could you share some insights about your research, particularly on the AI in medicine and your contributions to health quality? I think it's very interesting topic that it would be great to hear from you.
Yes, thank you. I would love to first spend a few words about AI because it's a concept that became really popular in the last year with maybe probably with the application of ChatGPT or also the architecture behind, which is called large language models. However, AI is much older than this. It belongs to the first part of the 20th century. A famous scientist called Alan Turing probably shaped the first AI paper, even before there were some researcher. But so we are speaking about something that has been around for probably a bit less than a century. However, in the 80s, we start to have the technology to implement so. In the last 10 years, we had a boom of technology, but also beautiful minds that really drastically steered the AI research in the way that we see nowadays. Another thing that I want to say before describing my research is that to do AI, you really need to have a creativity mindset. Doesn't really matter what's your background because you can shape a part of AI from different perspectives. It can be a bit more technical, it can be a bit more ethical. In fact, we have like expert in ethical AI nowadays. So it's really like matter of passion and curiosity. And actually those people are needed. One of the foundation of AI is natural language processing. So the fact that you would like to teach a machine how to speak or to generate words as a human. And the main contributions for the AI that we have today are coming from experts in linguistics that are not at all computer scientists or, they became after, but they had this deep understanding of the language root. So I think the main recipe to become a great AI scientist is to have curiosity and then find your own path, which can be more technical or more theoretical or more ethical. I choose the path of technicality because I like really to put my hands on things. And I, as a computer scientist, I noticed that if you really understand this tool, then it's easy to use it for a different domain, as I did for vehicular networking in my PhD, as I did for cancer patient during my first postdoc, as I'm doing now for mental health at the National Institute of Health. And I'm actually starting a new domain for regulatory genome. So I'm applying AI to the DNA, especially the part of DNA which is not coding, so are not genes. So once that you understand this tool and how it works, you can really mold and you can really shape for your task. What I'm spending my day on is really trying to detect the attitudes of doctors in their medical reports. When you, for example, look at a comment under a video or on a social media, you can have a notion if this comment is coming from a positive or negative attitude. But when a clinician writes about a patient, is not writing about him or herself, is writing about someone else. Therefore, detecting an attitude inside those clinical notes, inside those medical reports, is extremely challenging. You really need to, what we say, read between the lines. Why is so important? This is important because many studies show that a good attitude is correlated with a good patient score, a satisfactory score, and a good patient satisfactory score is correlated with better treatment adherence, which means that the patient stays respect more the treatment and is accurate, and the outcome is high likely to be good. It helps also to tackle health disparity, detect any bias, maybe ethnicity, maybe race, maybe gender, and also like health literacy, the fact that some patients are not educated or instructed to assume a particular drug, like for example, insulin for diabetic patients. So we see that medical reports where the doctor is describing how to use a particular medication, then we see also a better outcome. But detecting attitudes from clinical notes, it's not beneficial only for the patients. It can be beneficial also for the doctor, because if we manage to detect attitude, we manage to detect a factor like stress, fatigue, and maybe prevent burnout. What during the pandemic we noticed that was really one of the buzzword. So it's a win-win for the patient and the care provider, with the final goal of enhancing the quality of healthcare. I develop and I shape AI system to give a different definition of sentiment, different definition of attitude. Usually you take a few medical reports where you think and you and other colleague thinks that there is something more than just the health description of the patients, and you try to instruct to teach the model to learn this definition of sentiment. And with the several techniques of optimization and performance metrics, you can eventually shape your AI tool to the task that you desire. So this is a really what I call a tool that shed light on the data that you provide. And one of the, let's say, caveats is that AI probably can be biased, AI can be probably incorrect or generate hallucination. This is true, but we don't have to forget that AI are trained on human data. Therefore, these biases, these hallucination can be also an incentive for us to tackle important questions of the society. This is what we try to do at NIH and at the University of Applied Switzerland.
I really listened how can I say, what you have said is really fascinating because you're creating new models with using AI, with the help of AI that can be used in different sectors. You started with on a vehicular, for example, area, and then you switched to another, and now you are working for I think very important topic for all the doctors and the success of the hospitals and the connections between the patients and doctors. So what you have been doing is, I think, very fascinating, and I think it also gives the idea how the AI can be used in different areas. It's a good example, right? So your research really depicts that. Thank you so much, Gaetano. So we're reaching to the end of our interview. So after this time, I think we can be all together on the screen. And but before we conclude this enlightening conversation, I think I would like to hear about your messages from both of you, especially for young researchers who may be watching us, because I know that they're very enthusiastic about how they can, progress in different fields, how they can collaborate with Switzerland or for their careers. What would you like to share with them?
So I would say really to not be afraid to engage in experiences abroad. Sometimes, you might be discouraged by what if I don't speak the language? What if I don't have the financial resources or the administrative hurdles? But really, all of this can be solutionated. And administrative hurdles, it's so much worth it. Because, for example, for me, it was a bit complicated when I wanted to go to Chile. I had to provide so many documents. I thought my Spanish was not good enough, maybe. In the end, it was the best year of my life. And I still have connections there. So I would say don't be discouraged that maybe the path to get you to a foreign country. Having an experience in an exchange abroad, really, it would change your perception about life, about yourself, and giving you opportunities, maybe not just in the United States, but to work, for example, in Switzerland, in Germany, in France. So yeah, just to not be discouraged.
Thank you. And how about you, Gaetano?
Yeah, I follow up with this message. I like to keep my curious mind on. So I wish to the further generation of students to be curious as well. And a practical message with today's society that it's we are experiencing new discovery every day, new models every week. So it's really challenging to keep up with all those updates, and probably it's not recommended. So what I would suggest instead is to really understand the foundations on the things that you love and you would like to explore. In my case was AI, so I had the opportunity between university. I travel also a lot, and today we have also like so many free tools and such freedom also to talk to other scientists. I always like to mentor. I always like to have a conversation about AI or also beyond, because, for example, I'm applying AI in mental health, so I also work with medical doctor specialist in mental health, and this is fascinating. I wish to be a student forever, so I wish to the further researcher to be a student forever, but stick to the foundation, because it's a world full of knowledge and it's impossible to keep updated about everything. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it was one of the very different suggestions. I mean, I see your passion to be how a researcher wants to be a student in the rest of his or her life. It's a great thing. It means that it is constant learning, you mean, right? This is don't stop learning or be open to the other opportunities and trust yourself and collaborate. Because I have also experienced this as a researcher. I think before I finished my PhD, visited at least 20 countries. So it was a great opportunity for me to connect, not only at the academic level. I think this is also interesting and very important to connect with other disciplines, because interdisciplinary work is one of the most important, I think, part of our research. Because what I see is that you also need to collaborate with social scientists, not only within your field, right? So it's so important. So thank you so much. Thank you both, Olivia and Gaetano, for sharing these really invaluable insights and experiences with us today. For me, it's been an enlightening conversation, and we look forward to more opportunities to explore Switzerland's contributions to the world of research. And so thank you for your time again. And I would like to say, stay also connected with us, EURAXESS North America, to get updated on the news and events and more European opportunities. I encourage you to follow us on social media, and also look at our website, because you can reach out our other conversations on research in Europe and virtual coffee chat with the Science Diplomat series. So I wish everyone a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Derya. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.